Okay, hello everyone. We are here with our monthly peer discussion series. Our facilitator of the month is Heather Stafford here. So everyone give a warm welcome to Heather. Um, my name is Daniel Valdez. I am a project manager here at Celeritas. We do animal health, custom technology, and digital transformation. We're always looking for ways to collaborate with forward-thinking people in the veterinary industry and start discussions to kind of brainstorm how we can make the vet industry progress. I have personally been with Celeritas for 2 years, but they've been in the animal health and veterinary industry for about 10 plus years now. We've just won an award for the best animal health technology team in the United States. And that's a really exciting thing. But NAMV, Not One More Vet, has also nominated us as one of their for an award as one of their top sponsors of the year, which was a great experience building an app for them. These are the kinds of things that we pursue as passion projects, but this is another passion project of ours. It's just having these open discussions and sharing ideas and insights. So I would first off love for Heather to introduce herself. I could say a few things about the fact that she started in the veterinary industry at 11 years old, but I don't think anyone can tell the story any better than she could. So without further ado, Heather.
Hi, I am Heather. I have been in the veterinary world for eons. I was 11 years old when I showed up to shadow a veterinarian. I showed up in a dress and got to watch surgery. They thought that I would last a day and they couldn't get rid of me for like 10 years. So yeah, that's about me. How I got my start. I've done it all, seen it all, heard it all. Worked as a kennel tech, reception. I was trained as a vet assistant, and I've been a practice manager for 6 years now.
Thanks. Okay, so what we're going to do is kind of keep this as open a discussion as we can, but Heather has a really amazing presentation prepared for you all. So we're going to take some time to get into that, and then we can save some time for a Q&A afterwards if you all would like. But I think we've got such an intimate room here right now that we can just kind of keep the conversation free-flowing and open. And so with that being said, Heather has a presentation here. So if you just want to share your screen, Heather, we can get started. And throughout, if anyone has any questions or points to add in, feel free.
Yes, absolutely. All right, so effective team management in veterinary clinics. A little bit about me, like I said, started volunteering at 11 years old, watering plants and washing windows, and that's kind of it. But definitely grew up in a veterinary clinic. I had my sweet 16 birthday party during a staff meeting there. I have my AA in general studies, BS in business accounting, and my MBA. I've been a certified veterinary practice manager since 2021. I have 2 kiddos at home, plus a cat named Biggie Smalls. He is my favorite child. My children will confirm that. So why care about team management? The equation is simple. Happier employees equal increased productivity equals increased revenue. It takes a lot of time, effort, and money to hire and train a new employee. High turnover rates aren't just expensive, they can also damage a clinic's reputation, especially in a very small community like I live in. We have one other vet clinic in my community, and it is corporate based. So if we have a high turnover rate, they're going to go on to sites like Glassdoor, and talk about their experience while working with us, which can be good or it can be bad. I wasn't expecting to see anything on Glassdoor for my little community and for my little clinic, but actually I was surprised to see that we were on Glassdoor. We had one review of 5 stars, wonderful place to work. Kennel Tech did a review, I guess, in 2021, said friendly coworkers, great boss. You can tell your hard work is appreciated. The cons don't necessarily relate to us, but with the veterinary field in general. And advice and management was the best. So I was really pleasantly surprised to see that. I had no idea it existed. But as you can see, this can really be a place of management needs work, or mandatory overtime is excessive, raises aren't given regularly. This is where people can be brutally honest and can really hurt your reputation if you're having those high turnover rates. So how to effectively manage a team? We are going to focus on one aspect of that, which is to focus on employee well-being. There's lots of different ways to manage a team, but this is sort of a passion of mine. I really am a firm believer in taking care of your employees, because if you take care of them, they're going to take care of your business. So I put on here to foster a positive, welcoming workplace culture, be a real leader, hold your clients accountable, use technology to alleviate any pressure that you can, get feedback often from your team, build your team's confidence, conduct team building exercises, communicate, and provide resources for help for those who need it. When I say be a real leader, I mean be visible and not just the voice behind the curtain like in Wizard of Oz. Lead by example, be honest. If an employee comes up to me and says, "Hey, Heather, I really need a new computer. It's very slow. It's not working." And I say, "Oh, it's not in the budget." But then we go on a company sponsored cruise, that doesn't really lend to the belief of, it's kind of hard for employees to trust that we're being honest, not just with that, but with any aspect of the clinic. So I really believe transparency. If it's not in the budget, it's not in the budget. And that's something that you can say and most people understand. And that goes with every part of managing a business, is being honest and transparent. Be reliable. They need to be able to count on you, and also follow through. If they ask you to do something and you say, "Yes, I'm going to do it," and then you don't, they can't rely on you. They can't trust you. And they're not going to lean on you when they need help. That's really a sticking point, because if they can't rely on you, who can they rely on? Be approachable, be available, be fair, be empathetic, and hand out more praise than constructive criticism. Constructive criticism, I think it's important. I think that it's necessary, but I also think that it needs to be balanced by more praise, because if you're constantly criticizing, you're not going to get anywhere with employees. They're going to tune you out, and they're going to find somewhere else to go. By be available, I really mean that during working hours, your employees should be able to grab you, to talk to you, to ask you for help, to run ideas by you. I'm a hybrid employee. I have the luxury, I know, of working from home 2 days a week. But during those working hours, all the employees know that they can text me, they can email me, they can message me on Google Chat, they can beam a Batman symbol into the sky, and I'm going to answer. They're going to be able to get a hold of me. That's not to say that I don't have boundaries. I absolutely do. But during working hours, I am there for them. Being fair is also a huge topic, especially during conflict management. Not having favorites and treating everyone equally, I think, is very, very important. So yeah. Utilizing technology. I wager that the majority of veterinary staff feels overwhelmed at least several times a week, if not at some point every single day. It's a busy business. It's a stressful business. Clinics can get overwhelmed easily, especially with this influx of clients and patients that we have seen during COVID and after COVID. So technology can help take tasks off the staff's very full plate, utilizing apps, patient portals, so that clients can get their own rabies certificate off of the portal. They don't have to call the clinic. They don't have to have the receptionist take the time to look it up, to email it to them. Automatic phone, text, email reminders. We just recently switched over to a new PIMS, and we decided to try and get rid of phone confirmations so that the receptionists don't have to take the time to call every single client when they're already getting email and text reminders for a few days before the appointment. We have seen no change in the amount of no call, no shows, which I found very interesting. I was very worried about that, but we've seen no change. So switching over to the automatic reminders was really a time saver, and I think has been really beneficial. Using the voiceover systems, virtual voicemail, things like that, where receptionists don't have to look up accounts. Some systems will automatically open up a client account for you when they call. All of that saves time. And the biggest is utilizing an online pharmacy. If you haven't utilized an online pharmacy yet, that is very big. I would say 10, 15 prescription refills are done on our online pharmacy. So that saves our technicians a huge amount of time and also, keeping less inventory on the shelves, which is nice. But the online pharmacy has made a very big impact on our clinic. A positive workplace culture, this is imperative to having any business, not just a veterinary clinic, but workplaces shouldn't allow toxic employees to continue down that path. What we have done is put a no mean girl clicks clause in our employee handbook. What I did is during a staff meeting, I had all of our employees write down on a piece of paper three aspects of our clinic that they think was most important. And then we wrote this clause together during the staff meeting to put in our handbook. So our clinic strives to keep a positive, enriching workplace culture. Our clinic values include compassion, respect, patience, and kindness. We try to embody these values at all times, even in stressful situations. We're mindful of each other, our environment, our workplace, our clients, and our high level of patient care. Associates are expected to embrace these values and contribute to the overall well-being of the hospital. So why did I put it in the employee manual? So that every new employee is exposed to this clause on their very first day when I go over everything in the employee manual, but also so that all employees are held to this standard. And if they don't, they're in violation of our policies at the clinic, and then we can go down the path of disciplinary action. I don't want a toxic employee in our hospital. I just don't. It is far better to spend money replacing one toxic employee than to constantly be hiring and training new employees. I mean, the cost difference is astronomical. I haven't looked at the figures lately, but it's a huge difference. Get feedback from your employees. Check in often with your team. Hold regular staff meetings and open the floor to employees. Ask them what's working well, what's not feasible. One thing that I'd like to say when we implement new policies as far as workflow and things like that, tell me if this is working. Tell me if this isn't working. Tell me if this is too time consuming. A lot of it is trial and error. What works best for every clinic, what works for one may not work for the other. So opening up the floor for employees to really put in their perspective is very helpful. employees they're in the middle of it. As a manager, I'm not so much. They're the ones on the floor most of the time. They're the ones that are in the thick of it. So I want to know what is working for them and what isn't working for them. And I don't want them to feel like we're setting these rules and it's black and white and you have to follow it. If it's not working, it's not working, and that's okay. We just need more ideas on how to fix it. We did put out a suggestion box, have gotten some great ideas through there. Conduct anonymous stay interviews. I really like doing this because it gives employees a chance to be honest. What do you like most about this clinic? What do you not like about this clinic? What is your favorite part of working in veterinary medicine as a whole? What can we fix? How can I help you? All of this means a lot to employees, and that's going to create that employee loyalty. Conducting exit interviews, I think, also is very important because that gives employees the option to be brutally honest without worrying that they're going to be, disciplined or being fired. They can really be honest. And some of those exit interviews are not fun to read, especially when you are, really trying to find your stride in management. But it's important. It's important to know what's working, what's not. And then also peer evaluations. What we do is at the 90-day probationary period, we have all of our employees do a peer evaluation on a new employee in preparation for their 90-day review. But then we also do annual peer evaluations. This can help pinpoint toxic employees if you're not aware of the situation. This is where people can, they can say what the employee is doing well, what they're not doing well. How do they interact with clients? How do they interact with each other? Are they approachable to each other? Are they kind to each other? So these peer evaluations are invaluable. I do make them anonymous so that I don't even know who's responding and what they're responding. And I think that helps. I think that the anonymity lets people be more honest. I even have employees who will hide their typing style because I can recognize it. So they, use different text styles or fonts or emojis or ampersands. Building up your team's confidence is huge. Stop the micromanaging. That's the biggest thing that you can do to help out your employees. You've hired capable employees. Now allow them to flourish. Allow them to show you what they're made of. If you haven't hired capable employees, then you need to make some adjustments to your hiring protocols. In the past, we've done the desperation hiring of hiring whoever we can the fastest we can because we need all hands on deck, and it doesn't work out. Thoughtful hiring is going to really help in this capacity. Taking your time to hire the right people, have the right people on your team. It's going to save you a lot of heartache later. Breathing down their necks will only make them nervous, and in turn, they'll make more mistakes. This is very, very common. It happens even with me. I can be talking to my boss about calculations, about budgets, about anything, and I will lose all the information in my brain when she is talking to me and the pressure is on. I won't remember a password I've typed 20 times today. It's just the nature of working with the boss and someone that you respect and who you don't want to disappoint. But the biggest thing I have to say about building their confidence is not to tear them down at all. Instead, you want to discuss teachable moments and make it a teachable moment and not a shameful moment. Berating employees, being condescending, it's all bad, all of it. Both verbal and nonverbal methods of communication matter. So your tone matters, the raised eyebrows matter, the shaking of a finger matters, the slamming a hand on a desk, it all matters. And it's something that people remember. It's one instance of you losing your cool or being really frustrated to a point where you feel like you need to do that. It sticks in employees' mind. You can do a million wonderful, nice, caring things, and they're not going to remember them all, but they're going to remember that one time where they were embarrassed and shamed to the ground. Don't discipline employees in front of others, especially not in front of other clients. I will tell you, I went to a physician and he was a specialist. He was a great physician until he started screaming at his nurse in the exam room with me. Screamed at her, called her stupid, was yelling at her. I mean, it was bad. And it was so bad that I didn't go back. I don't care how good of a doctor he was. I don't care about the quality of his medicine. I care that he felt the need to be so nasty to another human being who works for him. He lost all respect from me. I never went back. So I keep that in mind, and I tell people about that because it's a real thing. It puts a bad taste in your mouth, and nobody wants to be around that kind of energy, those kind of vibes. Especially with Gen Z coming into the workforce and with the concept of quiet quitting, they're not going to take that. I don't think any employee should take that, but especially we're seeing that, especially with the new generation coming into the workforce, that they want to be happy, they want to be comfortable, and if not, they're going to go down the road. So that's all I have to say about that. What you should do is foster their knowledge and their growth, offer continuing education, have lunch and learns, teach them yourself. Sometimes we'll talk about budgets, and we'll talk about pricing in staff meetings. Not that employees particularly care, but more knowledge is better, I tend to think. And also it's going to help them kick imposter syndrome in the face. Who can relate to imposter syndrome? I bet just about everybody can. I can for sure. I have imposter syndrome right now about doing this webinar. Imposter syndrome can really, really hurt. It's hard. It's hard to flourish in an environment where you feel like you're a total and complete fraud. So team building exercises, they don't have to be the cheesy trust fall type of exercise. Any activity outside of work duties can really help a team connect. So that could be a potluck after work. It could be a holiday party, go to an escape room, have a scavenger hunt in the clinic. Veterinary Olympics is really fun, splitting up into teams and which team can assemble an e-collar the fastest. It's silly. But you're in the clinic and you're really connecting with your team members on a level that's not focused around a patient or focused around a client. This is really actively engaging with each other, and it's super important. And one other team building exercise that we do is we have a little box of sunshine. This is a box that we keep in the treatment area, and any employee that sees another employee going above and beyond can write a little note and put it in this box. Sunshine to Heather for knocking out all the prescription refill requests in an hour. Fold it up, put it in the box, and we read them during the next staff meeting. Whoever has the most sunshine about them at the staff meeting gets a gift card. It really encourages people to go above and beyond. It's a positive aspect of working in the clinic, and it really, it helps. It means a lot. We implemented that before I became practice manager and I was a veterinary assistant there. And I will tell you, I have kept every note that has been written about me in the little box of sunshine dating back to 2011. I have them all in my office in a drawer, and I kept them all because it means a lot. It's recognition that I didn't fish for, that that it comes from the heart and it means a lot. Communicate. So communication obviously is imperative. Utilizing messaging systems like Slack, Teams, Google Chat, it can help with communication quickly. And it allows you to be a little bit silly. It humanizes you as a manager so that you're not this scary being that they have to be prim and proper around when you walk by. You know, it's okay to be a human. It's okay to be silly as long as you're not crossing any lines. We'll send silly gifts through the day, and you know, it doesn't take a lot of time. It doesn't take a lot of time out of your day to send a quick message. You guys are rocking it today. You guys are doing great. Thank you for filling all of those canceled appointment slots so that we can have a full day. Thank you for all of your hard work. Thank you for the little things. Thank you for taking care of that email for me. Again, it's recognition, it's humanizing yourself. You know, so I think it's fun, and I think that obviously communication is important, as well as having an open door policy. My door to my office is open all the time, unless I'm in a meeting or on an important phone call. But if my door is open, employees can come in, they can chat with me. I've got a couch in my office. They can sit on the couch. Sometimes they lay on the couch and chit chat for a little bit on their break. But it helps with connecting. It helps with connecting. And they know that I am listening. I'm not just hearing what they have to say. I am not just getting through any complaints that they have. Yeah, whatever. I'm actively listening and engaging. It goes a long way. It goes a really long way when you take into consideration what they're saying to you. Okay, I understand that you're upset about XYZ. So let's brainstorm how to fix XYZ. Taking action shows that you care, and it fixes the problem, or at least attempts to fix the problem. Even if you don't fix the problem, at least you're trying, and they can see that. That goes along with be approachable. If you're not approachable, it's a problem. Your employees should be able to come up to you and talk to you about anything work related. They should feel comfortable addressing you. They should feel comfortable knocking on your door and saying, hey, can we chat for a minute, and not be shaking in their boots. I think that approachability is huge. And so not being cold and stony faced and, you know, I'm only going to talk about XYZ during these hours and don't bother me. That's just, it's not my style, but it's not conducive to having an effective team that communicates well. The next thing that I think really helps your team is to hold clients accountable for their actions. My employees know that I stand behind them 100%. I don't condone any bad behavior, but they know that I have their back. One thing that we have implemented is security cameras with audio. Now, if that's something that you choose to do, make sure you consult a legal professional in your state first. I'm in California, which is very strict. So we did consult with a lawyer to make sure that we dotted our I's and crossed our T's. But what this does is it holds the clients accountable for their actions. If they come back to us and they say, Dr. So-and-so didn't explain that death is a risk of anesthesia and my dog died, so now I'm going to sue you. Well, actually, we have the security camera footage from the exam, and we can see where Dr. So-and-so did discuss this with you. You know, it shuts down that, you know, clients that are sue happy, that are abusive, that are using their pets to be aggressive or intimidating. I've seen that. So I do think that the security cameras have been helpful. Every single employee knows that there are security cameras in the clinic. And they also know that it's not to spy on them. I don't have time to spy on them. I don't have time for most things, and I definitely don't have time to spy on them. But it's really there as a safety net. So it is nice to have, as long as it's legal in your state, you have all the signage and things like that. Another thing that we did is we created a code of conduct with a zero tolerance policy for our clients. We hung it up in our hospital in 2 different places. We linked to it on our clinic website. We include it with our new client paperwork. It shows exactly what we expect of our clients, how we expect them to behave. And we are not afraid to fire clients if they won't abide by it. I would much rather have a fired client leave a bad Yelp review than for an employee to suffer or quit or have, suffer emotionally from this interaction because I let a client berate them. I will never let a client berate one of our employees. I don't care how bad the situation is. I don't care what happened. Clients are adults and they can talk like an adult with adult language and be respectful. And if they can't be respectful, then I have something to say about it. So I wanted to show our code of conduct. Our clinic seeks to continually provide a welcoming and safe environment, which ensures trust and respect for all people and pets. As such, the following behaviors displayed in our clinic and on our premises are strictly prohibited. Yelling or screaming at any employee for any reason. Profanity, bullying, cyberbullying, libel, slander, defamation of character, or any combination thereof. Any act or threat of violence, verbal, visual, physical, or sexual harassment. We have had that in our clinic. We had to fire a client for sexual harassment on an employee. It's amazing the things that you have to put into this code of conduct to make it all encompassing. And that's impossible to make it fully all encompassing, but intimidation tactics, failure to comply with requests from our staff, such as leashing or restraining your pet, demonstrating belligerent mannerisms suggestive of being under the influence of drugs or alcohol. Lastly, anyone who intentionally allows their pet to aggressively intimidate staff or other clients will be asked to leave the premises. I consulted a lawyer when creating this, and they suggested that we put that clause in. It had never even occurred to me that a client could or would use their pet to be intimidating to an employee or to other clients in the lobby. If they have, an aggressive dog on a leash that they're allowing to be aggressive or vicious, it never occurred to me that people will do that, and they do. We understand that emotions can run high when pets are ill or injured. However, we cannot sacrifice our mental health and emotional well-being to help pets belonging to owners who are abusive to us. The suicide rate in veterinary medicine is astronomical, and we do not want our employees to suffer performing the job that they love. Therefore, any client who violates our code of conduct will be immediately dismissed from our office, and no future services will be provided. Other corrective measures may be taken, such as being asked to leave the property or involving law enforcement at the discretion of the owner of the practice. We hope that our clients will support this code of conduct and will contribute to a peaceful professional environment in which we can safely care for the pets in our community. We've had an overwhelming response to posting this in our clinic. Our clients are very, very supportive. They're honestly surprised that we had or felt that we had to create this code of conduct. But I'm glad that we did. I think that it does help. I think that it's a good thing to have. I have fired clients and sent them a client termination letter and included the code of conduct. This is what you did. You cannot treat our employees like that. You cannot swear at our reception supervisor. We won't tolerate it. That really helps. It helps the employees feel safe, and it helps the employees feel backed. And that also fosters that employee loyalty to your clinic. Last thing is to provide resources for help for those who need it. If you don't already have an employee assistance program, I highly suggest that you look into one. There are some payroll companies that provide an employee assistance program. That's how we got ours. It's free. It provides free counseling sessions, basic legal advice, financial planning, all sorts of good things for employees who need it, who work in a field that traditionally doesn't pay very well. They may not have access to counseling sessions or financial advice. So this is helpful. And if you aren't already, familiarize yourself with Not One More Vet and Not One More Vet Nurse. Have open, honest conversations with your staff about this topic. One thing that we always suggest is to post suicide hotline numbers in your break room, but also on your controlled substances safe. Dr. Andy Rourke launched a 4 Eyes Save Lives campaign for suicide prevention in 2019, which was really amazing. The concept is that two people should be able to go into a controlled substance, to go into the safe at a time. Nobody can go in there alone. So 4 eyes instead of 2 eyes. But then he also sent out these stickers and to put on your safe, which we did. We also took a picture and tagged Dr. Andy Rourke in it. Like I said, this is back from 2019. We still have that sticker on our safe. And, I think that it's great. I think that it's an opportunity to reach out to those who are in a crisis, if you're not there. And it helps. It's helpful. That's about all I have. This is my contact information. If anybody has, any suggestions, any conflicting viewpoints, if you would just want to say hi, you can, request to connect on LinkedIn. There's Biggie Smalls, and I reward you with a tongue blep for sticking through this entire webinar.
Thank you so much, Heather. And I'm seeing in the chat, and I completely forgot this when we were running through the presentation earlier, Heather. Yeah, Andy is Ron's boss. So what is...
Hi.
Hey, small world.
Absolutely. And I was going to say, when you were covering the communication, I know that you were going through a lot of communication methods as far as different systems to use and things like that. And I think that you got into communication styles as well, which is, funny enough, somewhere I find Ron to be extremely, extremely well-versed in. And so I feel like you both could have, a real great ongoing conversation about that. There's so many nuances to how to effectively communicate things to your team that wouldn't always come across as the obvious, but it spreads into things like code of conduct as well. And I think that one of the discussions that came up during Ron's presentation was about how to actually get people to read their employee handbooks or their code of conduct. I'm curious to hear, Ron, what kind of things you learned from that conversation, because you were put on the hot spot. They're like, we were really trying to figure that out.
Oh, with how to get people to read it. I mean, I think at onboarding, is like Heather said earlier, I think it's a perfect opportunity during the onboarding. And then I also bring it up, like we use part of the handbook at every staff meeting. No longer in practice, but even outside within the industry and not being in practice anymore, we still use that as part of our staff meetings. Like, let's go over and review this part of our handbook. Let's go over and review this part of our core values. Let's go over and review this part of our team agreements and things like that. And so it's a great way to keep it fresh and keep it part of the language of your practice.
Yeah, I think so too. And Heather, I don't know if you've had what your experience has been with that, with kind of keeping that, that employee handbook kind of as a relevant piece of to kind of guide the team throughout ongoing staff meetings. Curious to hear your thoughts on that.
I think that's a great idea. I do review our employee handbook every year, just to make sure that there's no changes, no legal verbiage I have to change. Any changes are discussed at a staff meeting, and I do hand out new sections of our employee handbook. But I think the biggest part of it is I go through it section by section during onboarding, but then, throughout the year, throughout their throughout work, talking about it, keeping it open, keeping it relevant, referencing it definitely during staff meetings. That's awesome.
Yeah. And I'm also curious about the code of conduct for clients, which I love, first off, because there's a lot of up in the air talk about how to manage client relations and kind of the struggles that come along with that. Like I put in the chat earlier, there seems to be a lot of struggle there on the effect a lot of client relations are having on the veterinary staff and their kind of motivation. And so I think some of the things you've presented about siding with the team is great. And then this code of conduct for clients is huge. I don't know if any other clinics have done that. Jamie, is that something that you've done in your practice before? Or have you heard of people doing that?
Yeah, we do have a code of conduct. I think most veterinary surgeries in the UK should have or do have some kind of code of conduct. It's an excellent idea because it does, as Heather said, give a basis for a sacking letter as well if that code of conduct isn't followed. I think it's very important to make clients aware of it as well. It was interesting to see that they include the code of conduct in the new client packs, which I think we do, but it's certainly something which I don't think happens in every single practice.
Yeah, that sounds like a good extra. Deb, I know we haven't heard from you yet, Deb. If your mic is working or if you're there, I would love to hear from you first off about any of your personal experiences, or if you have any sort of insight onto that, onto the client code of conduct. If you are in fact there, Deb, elusive Deb. We'll chat with her soon. So some other questions. I'm on a plane and can't talk. Thank you so much for joining while on a plane. That's kind of amazing. I really appreciate that. Where's Deb going to? I was taking a few notes just to ask some questions, but I was curious about when you glossed over, because tech is our big thing. And I'm always curious to hear what people think, what kind of tech has enabled better team management for practice managers or people just within the clinic, from any side, what kind of tech they've seen that's helped enable them doing their jobs better, or the rest of the staff doing their jobs better. Because I know it's kind of a sticking point for a lot of veterinarians, is like, what amount of technology is the right amount, what amount is too much, what takes the humanity out of things, what overcomplicates things, but also what can make teams run more smoothly. So if there's anything that you all have that stand out, I'm very curious to hear. I know you were talking about a PIMS that you just recently implemented, Heather, that's been working well for you.
Yeah, we implemented it about a month ago. First 2 weeks were a little rough. We had training sessions almost every week for I think 3 months leading up to the changeover, so that everybody is at least has a working knowledge of the software. I think everybody is more comfortable now, still a little bumpy, but we're dealing with a lot less roadblocks now than we had with the antiquated system. So it is more technology, more things that we are doing, but it really is a time saver and it helps.
Yeah. Ron, I saw you unmuted.
Yeah, I would say the biggest game changer for me in practice was when we can get our scheduling system and our HRIS system talking to each other and allowing our teams to edit their own time clocks, or request their time off, and it's a quick approval rather than going through the paper slips or the other old school ways that we used to do it with spreadsheets and things. But for me, that was a huge game changer and an increase of efficiency on my end.
Yeah, that's good to hear. That was one of the first solutions that I was looking into when I started in on all this. I was thinking, first off, how can we manage triaging more easily, like whether that's in the form of just setting appointments, or the regular hospital triaging based off of what we already know about certain symptoms and what they can indicate, and how we can kind of prioritize those things automatically. But then it kind of moved from that into more, how can we schedule veterinarians themselves more effectively, whether it's through heat maps or any other sort of technology that we can use, knowing about the dispersal of clients in a certain area and the amount of veterinarians, whether on staff or relief, that could be utilized in a better way. Because I'm always hearing in clinics, it's we need more staff, we need more this, we need more that. Even new clinics opening up before they have any clients, we need more staff. How do you know? And so I think that You raise a good point, Ron, and I'm curious to hear a little bit more about how that scheduling software kind of works, because I know that there's a lot of room for AI to build on that.
Yeah, I think being able to take their availability and what you hire them at, because it's always, well, at hire, I was told I didn't have to work Saturdays, or you have these special accommodations around certain hires. And so being able to put that into a place where it's more concrete, you can actually create a schedule and it tells you can't put this person there because mistakes happen, we're human. And
Yeah.
being able to safeguard ourselves, and then being able to take a lot off of my plate with time clock corrections, time off. We could put pre-approvals in, or only 2 approvals on this day because I'm shorter staffed, or it's a holiday, so I know only 2 people are allowed to have that day off compared to our capacity of our practice. So some things like that were really great. Being able to look at turnover rates, and being able to look at some of the demographics. My practice, we had over 105 between our 3 practices. And so looking at, from an EEOC perspective, looking at the demographics and what we need to report out was actually really interesting, and how we can create more diversity within our practice.
Yeah, good point. Heather, about how many people do you have at your practice right now?
We have, I think we're at 16 right now.
Okay. And then Jamie, if you're still there, how many between the 3 clinics under your network, how much staff are dispersed
We
there?
we have 56 staff over 3 surgeries.
Okay, interesting. And are you
I
using a similar, sorry, what were you going to say?
We have I think Ron was talking about something about leave and annual holiday and things like that. We do have a new app called Rota Cloud, which has been quite widely used and appreciated. It makes it very simple to see who's on shift and who's not, what shifts are available, who's on holiday, etc., etc. But in terms of technology and communication, I'm not convinced that we have communication that is effective in the surgery that I'm based in, as a result of many people not reading emails, for example, and not acknowledging emails from management, shoving them straight into the junk folder for whatever reason. And I think in terms of meetings, we do try and have various meetings through departments. There's 3 main departments: reception staff, nursing staff, and obviously the veterinary staff. Management obviously have their own meetings. There's 4 of them in total, and they have regular management meetings, which is obviously good, but there's no real connect between the 4 different groups because of the amount of staff that we have. So really the only opportunity that we get to communicate is via digital email, or WhatsApp groups, for example. So it's not ideal, but it does work to a certain degree. It just has to it has to mean that everyone is compliant in, for example, reading emails and acknowledging them.
Right. I wonder if there's some sort of blind spot where that you can get over, that's kind of leading to less responsiveness through email, or if there's better means of communication. I wonder if
I think most of it lies along sort of willingness to communicate. I find, my impressions would be that there's a number, possibly over 50% of staff, that things aren't affecting them that much. They feel that they have to communicate, but they don't realize that actually their contribution, whether it's positive or negative, is valuable.
I think that's where the foundational stuff that Heather's mentioning with communication comes in handy.
Absolutely.
Is kind of laying that groundwork so that people are actually looking at the email because they know it matters, and actually giving it because they know it matters.
I do actually have a question for Heather.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So what would you do in a situation where you have a member of management? The hierarchy basically in most vet surgeries in the UK is you have directors, then you have HR and practice managers, then you've got line managers, which are sort of the link between the departments and the management, and then you have the nursing staff, vets, receptionists, etc. cleaners. What would you do in a situation where your staff do not feel comfortable approaching the HR practice manager sort of side of things, because the impression that said individuals are giving via email, or the tone of emails, for example, or the way people are spoken to, is deemed as being intimidating or cold?
I have encountered that. The best thing that I have done is just to reassure them that it's written, it's not verbal, you're not seeing it in person. So a lot of connotation, a lot of tone is lost over email. But I would bring that up to HR also. I don't know if you're in a place to do that, or to the management team, that, hey, some employees are getting the impression that these emails are hostile or condescending or whatever it is. So we need to find a better way to communicate. We need to, instead of doing email, we could do a little YouTube clip and send it to everybody. We could just, instead of having emails, we could discuss everything at a staff meeting, and then post the staff meeting notes on a bulletin board. We also, we print out emails after we send them and put them on the bulletin board. Everybody is responsible for reading that bulletin board and knowing what's on it. So that's where all the emails go in our staff meeting notes, just as a side note. But I would bring that up to HR, that the emails are not coming across maybe how they intend, or maybe they are intending to be scary. And that's something to bring up too, that maybe this isn't the best way to communicate.
So I agree. I agree completely. What if the HR stroke practice manager's ethos is one which goes along the lines that if you are scary, stroke intimidating, that you have your position consolidated as being higher up, is the right way to be in terms of being a manager. And if you are getting complaints, if you're getting criticism, then you're doing a good job and not a bad job.
I would climb the ladder on that one then. That's where I would climb the chain and go to their higher ups and say, hey, this person is coming across as very aggressive and thinks that it's okay. However, the employees are coming to me and they're saying, this is not effective, this is not okay, I'm not comfortable with this person. And we need to change this, because the employees need to be able to come to HR with any problems. And if they can't,
Absolutely.
who do they go to?
Absolutely. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I like what Ron mentioned in the chat here. First off, he said it sounds like a misalignment of values, which I agree with. But also, I like this method you're talking about using ChatGPT to warm up written communication. Has everyone have everyone in this room used ChatGPT at one point or another?
I haven't.
No? Heather, no? I mean,
No.
Ron, what you're describing here, it's such like a great like basic way. If you want to explain it to
Yeah, I mean, I'll take my email that I write. And so I'm on the disc, I'm a high D, right? It's very direct to the point. It can come across I'm the person who can come across really condescending, and I don't ever mean to be. And so I take what I write, I take all my main points, I throw it into ChatGPT, and I ask it to make it much more warm, welcoming, and professional. Maybe I want it to make more fun. If it's a certain email, I want it to be more fun. I tell it how the tone of the email should be, and then it spits it out, and then I clean it up to make it sound like myself. And so that's a great way. And then I have been purposely, when appropriate, overutilizing emojis to insert tone, right? If it's not something professional to HR, I want to overuse the emoji so that they understand kind of the tone of voice. Maybe it was sarcasm, and I want to do a little laughy face so they get the point of the sentence prior to. And so I've been overutilizing those lately.
Okay.
Yeah, I love that idea. And it's a real easy fix that kind of helps. Also helps kind of indirectly assisting in your communication style in practice when you're working with that kind of thing. And so, you know, I know, Ron, your communication just in person is phenomenal, first off. And so it makes a difference, I think, when you're actually learning what your communication style is, and then finding ways like ChatGPT, which is free and available to everyone, using those kinds of tools. I mean, I think that's one of the great examples of how technology can be super useful in team management. And so I think that's a fun one to kind of close off on. But I really appreciate everyone's input on this. And Heather, thank you so much for deciding to come by for this month's peer discussion and facilitate, put on such an amazing presentation and open yourself up to some of these questions. I look forward to all future discussions and hope to see everyone back here soon. We hold these once a month. We also have started peer discussions for a roundtable with different practice managers. So whether you're a former practice manager, current practice manager, and you have some insights you'd like to share, keep an eye out for our next month's practice manager roundtables as well. And Jamie, certainly here, let me put my LinkedIn in the description or in the chat as well. So anyone who's not connected to me there, you can send a connection request and I can send you an invite to the next one. Let me put Heather's in as well, so it's a clickable link. So you guys can stay connected with Heather as well. And once again, thank you so much, Heather, for taking part in this and sharing your insight with us. Everyone who's here, I appreciate your attendance and I look forward to seeing you next month.
Thank you.
you.